course, Mr. Amin for moderating the panel. Now, the next panel is in association with our session partner, that's greytHR. So what we're going to do is, I'm quickly going to invite over the next panel on the screen for you all. Mr. Ashutosh Thate, Senior Human Resource Manager, Edelman, Ms. Seema Singh, CHRO, India Post Payments Bank, Mr. Ashish Anand, CHRO, SAR Group of Companies, Mr. Sayeed Anjum, co-founder and CTO, greytHR. The moderator for the panel discussion would be Jyotsna Sharma, Senior Associate Editor at BW Business World. Once again, this panel is powered by greytHR. We want to extend our gratitude to them and hand over the screen to Jyotsna. Jyotsna, over to you. While Jyotsna connects, let me quickly remind you all that all these conversations are going to go all day long, and you can use the hashtag to spread the word around on the social networks, nurturing talent for future. And there we go. We have Jyotsna on line with us. Jyotsna, screen is all yours.
Hello, welcome. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. HRMS enabling effective employee management is what we're going to speak about today. We've got a very impressive panel. We've got Mr. Sayeed Anjum, co-founder and CTO, greytHR. We have Mr. Ashutosh Thate, Senior Human Resource Manager, Edelman. We've got Seema Singh, CHRO, India Post Payments Bank. We've got Mr. Ashish Anand, CHRO, SAR Group of Companies. So before we begin, let's talk a little bit about effective employee engagement. Now, I was reading a report recently which said that only 13% of employees worldwide are effectively engaged. This report was slightly dated, but let's get your views on it. Ashutosh, would you like to take this up?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jyotsna, and a very good morning to you and all of the fellow panelists who joined the call today. I'm privileged to be a part of this discussion. I think employee engagement is definitely one of the aspects that's making headlines as far as the HR community is concerned, especially if we look at the current state of affairs with the extension of work from home for most organizations. As in, if I can give you an example about Edelman India, we haven't stepped back into office since March of 2020. So in another month, it's going to be exactly 24 months, since employees have set foot in the workplace physically. While I think the novelty of working from home lasted for the initial 6 to 7 months, since the start of the pandemic, I think eventually people started feeling a bit of a fatigue and, started missing actually coming to the office at a physical state. And I think employee engagement as well, and that's a very, very, that's a very crucial topic in terms of, maybe also trying to understand why employee engagement is important. To begin with, what I'd like to say is, it definitely helps creating a sense of belonging. It also drives and also helps in sustaining the employee culture at the organization, and more importantly, keeps people motivated and keeps them in terms of not just talking, but also getting them to get involved in several activities and initiatives at an organization level. Now, obviously, work from home or the virtual work environment has definitely proved to be a hurdle. We feel the workforce, although we're sort of divided by the pandemic and united by the culture is what we often call it from an Edelman sense. But we do know that it is largely a fragmented workforce. When I say fragmented, it means purely in the sense of, geographically fragmented at this point in time. And I think, before we dive into what are the things that we could do to overcome this, I'd really love to hear from my fellow panelists available on call today in terms of what is some of their challenges that they face, in their respective organizations as well. So, yeah.
Yes, actually, I was going to move on to that because, like you pointed out, that the hybrid working environment right now, they're trying to engage employees and keeping them engaged is sort of really important. So let's move to Seema. Seema, what do you think are some of the challenges or hurdles that organizations face, especially in a hybrid work setup, in terms of employee engagement?
Uh, I would like to tell you that unlike Ashutosh, we've never had to face the challenge of engaging the people because people were over-engaged during the time of pandemic and even now, because I'm from the essential services. And you know what happened at that time? Because if you know about India Post Payments Bank, it is a bank which goes to the doorstep to give the banking facility to the people who are in the last mile.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, the challenge which I faced was a lot of my people who would go to the services are actually postmen who face the customers. So we are actually converting postmen into bankers, and lot of people at that time suffered with COVID because they were out in the field, and many lost their lives as well. So the challenge for me was not to keep them engaged. My challenge was to keep them safe from
Safe.
the
Mhm.
yes. So, and also for my officers inside the branches also, because we did not get even one day of work from home unless, you know, the whole office was affected. But we did have a lot of challenges during the pandemic. But I will say we did a marvelous job and we sailed through the whole thing by giving best of services to the people who were actually not able to go to the banks at all. So that was
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Said, could I get your views on this, please?
Yeah, I feel the remote work culture that has come up has accentuated the need for better employee experience and employee engagement, because earlier there was some semblance of everybody being there together, and a lot of management work was easier.
Yeah.
But given that everyone has moved remote in at least many of the industries, it becomes a harder task to drive culture, to drive engagement, and therefore the focus has to be heightened. So one of the reasons or one of the needs for good employee engagement today is that everything flows from engagement, productivity, growth, and all of these things. So that being the case, how can we drive good employee engagement? And in our view, employee engagement is directly linked to the employee experience, because employee experience is what happens on the ground, but then it gets converted to employee engagement if the experience is good. And
Yeah.
experience is not just about life cycle events or some major milestones where employee feels good about the experience, but it's happening every day, every moment. So there are a series of moments of truths, and how good that experience is when the employee comes in contact with their colleagues, with their manager, with the company policies, with everything, defines what happens afterwards. So managing this is the core responsibility of not just HR, but the entire organization. That's
Right.
what I think.
Right. So Ashish, moving on to you, what about HRMS solutions? In terms of reformulating work culture, can we have, are you able to hear me?
Sorry, I lost your last line. Can you just repeat again?
Yes, I was going to talk to you about HRMS solutions in terms of reformulating work culture. How have they sort of helped? How has it helped? So let's have your views on that.
So let me get into a little more deeper aspect of what the employee engagement means essentially. See, traditionally the engagement program or design is suiting one to many need, and that was good for the environment. But not it. I don't know whether good or bad, but that's the design of the entire employee engagement, was that I design engagement program which all thousands, hundreds, or whichever number of size of the employees are, they need to be engaged in certain manner. However, human beings actually want to be engaged in a manner they prefer to be engaged. Now, the whole work from home of last 2 years has disposed this particular thinking. Now, so that this is the core issue of the whole engagement culture. Connect with the employee, and especially when you're dealing with the younger generation, where the content creation and the content absorptions are very different than the normal content we would have studied and seen. So that's the core fundamental issue, and I think the time is very short to get into it. It's a very long debate in that sense. Now, if you have to look at an HRMS as a solution, what does it do? And it depends what kind of an HRMS solution and evolution of company you are at any point. So from early stage to mid stage to late stage to growth on a hyper growth organization. If the HRMS solutions are designed to cater to your basic processes like leave, attendance, payroll, etc. Anyway, it doesn't matter which whether you're in a hybrid or you're not on a hybrid organization. So it doesn't matter. See, if the high level of employee engagement through HRMS only, because the HRMS practically becomes, and if it isn't, and that's what we did in our organization, is that becomes your interface. Besides your manager, that becomes your interface with the organization, because that's the only real connect you have with the firm, or besides the leader or the immediate manager. Now, if it is only payroll and the basic processes, then nothing changes in that sense. But if you're able to design your HRMS in a manner where the learning needs, and because I said that everyone wants to learn, consume things differently. If your HRMS, your e-learning solutions, and this comprehensively can cater to that need, then it's a great engagement tool. Your performance conversations, if it is real time, then it's a great HRMS productivity enhancement. But if your HRMS is designed only to do a paper pushing of last year appraisal process, then anyway it's not going to help. So if the HRMSs are designed on a real-time basis as much as possible, we understand that it's not possible to do 100% real time, but as long as it is real-time basis, it's a great connect, because that's the only organization they see. Earlier we were used to going to offices, and physical building used to be the connect, the first impression. Now in the digital world, the first impression user interface with the laptop, and besides inside your laptop, what's coming on the screen. So I think it's a great tool, but it's currently very under leveraged and underpowered. Both ways, right. I would look at. Right. The systems are also not designed to behave in that manner.
Yeah. Like you just said that, employees look for growth also. They, training is very important for them. Being engaged, training, all of that, career growth, all of that comes in. So I want to get Sayeed's view on this, please. Sayeed, what can you tell us a little bit about how work culture gets transformed through these?
Yeah, so I think as Ashish was rightfully mentioning, the primary interface now to connect the employee to the employer and to their peers is through a lot of HRMS tools, but I won't just call it as HRMS, because these are now also called work tech, not just HR tech, right? And the interface has to be combined with work tech, because Zoom is also part of the HR thing, and Slack is also part of your HR engagement. So it won't be safe to say that HRMS will leverage the entire thing. But now, if you look at the entire HR landscape, there are at least 12 major categories, including wellness and L&D and various other things. So, but the entire COVID situation has demonstrated that all the interactions are being mediated through the HR and work tech. If you take away these, it would be very much impossible to carry out any work as such. So there is no question that HRMS is important and work tech is important, and effective use of these also is important, because what we have noticed is that it's not just enough to have the necessary tools at your disposal. While tools are enablers, the actual thing is when the culture of the company changes, when the tools are used the way they have to be used, and also the mindsets of the people using the tools need to evolve. Only when all of these come together, we will have a good, effective use of tech.
Yeah. So Ashutosh, at your organization, if you'd like to tell us how has your experience been with such tools, and how is it sort of, enhanced and added to your work culture?
Certainly. So I think firstly, I'd definitely like to echo the thoughts shared by both Mr. Sayeed as well as Mr. Ashish. I think one of the commonalities that comes out as far as leveraging on HRMS as a tool is that initial point of contact, especially for new joinees that join organizations in a virtual environment. While I think while creating that aha moment for people who walk into your office on the first day and, they have their desk decorated and they have a team meeting, they go out for lunch, all of those things, it kind of seems like, a thing of the past, which I think is becoming more and more difficult. But I think, as they rightly said, the very first touch point for an employee now is what's on his or her computer. What is the interface that they're going to be liaising with, and which is where a comprehensive HRMS platform becomes very vital. And it's also a very important way of communicating all of the different tools that the organization is leveraging on, whether it is to do with training, whether it is to do with performance management, and simple things like leave and attendance management. Where do I download my salary slips? These are very common questions that people ask right from day one. Where do I file my tax declaration, for example? Where do I see the policies and procedural documents of the organization? I think it's extremely important and imperative to have a very robust HRMS, because it helps creating a sense of belonging, especially when you're not directly liaising with your HR, points of contact in a physical state. In a virtual state, yes, they are going to be communicating and they're going to be interfacing with technology, which I personally, as a people person, think it's a double-edged sword. But it's extremely crucial and vital is what I'd like to believe, for sure.
And what are the, staying with you, what are some of the things that we can do to sort of enhance what we have right now? So I know that we've got these solutions, but what is it as a leader that you feel that there's certain things that can be added or should be sort of more focused on?
Right. So I think that kind of depends upon, as Mr. Ashish was saying initially as well, I think that depends upon the stage in which your organization is in. I think it depends upon also the kind of industry that you belong to. I think that level of customization for an HRMS and the opportunities for customization are tremendous. I mean, if I can speak on my behalf, Edelman India, of course, we're a much smaller organization. We would consider ourselves to be not a boutique agency, but a mid-sized agency in India with a total employee strength of about 350 people in India. While globally our employee strength, surpasses 6,000. But from an India context, it's a very small size. And we're a very lean team, even if I can say it from a human resource perspective, which is where the certain sense of personalization needs to be brought in to what we're doing from an HRMS perspective. Yeah. It cannot be a one size fits all. And if I can speak about it from a generational context, the average age group of an employee at Edelman is 25. So we're looking at a very young, a very dynamic workforce, and their expectations from an HRMS are very different from, say, someone my age or senior to me. And which is, I think, coming back to your question in terms of the customizability of the HRMS and the tool is extremely important. I mean, are you encompassing just the basic elements or the 11 or 15 aspects that Mr. Sayeed spoke of? Or are you also adding some of these new age things revolving around citizenship or what we call CSR, employee wellness, employee well-being? Now, these are coming to the forefront and more than ever before, which is why I think the need to focus on these and implementing that as part of your HRMS is even more crucial today.
Right. I think that's a very, very important point that you brought up. So I will move to Ashish now. Can you add to this or take this point up on personalization? Of course, the larger the organization, the harder it is to do something like this. However, this is the need of the hour. And so let's get your views on how you think this can be done, how it should be sort of moved.
Okay, so I kind of partially agree with Ashutosh, but partially agree with Ashutosh, partially have a different point of view. And see, at any point in time, and I have little deep interest in the tech and the deep tech side, because in my current role also, I used to oversee IT function. See, if you look at the whole consumer journey in the country, and I take a lot of examples from the consumer because that's how you start to behave. Now, the biggest platform in the world, which is Amazon, Flipkart, or every continent has one or two like players, has one to many platform, but it is super customizable. Okay. See, today, if you look at all the HRMS platforms, that traditionally it evolved from moving from a paper to paperless organization and adding a layer of certain customization, but it never reached to a level of thinking that how would a consumer behave. So what has these platforms? They have changed the consumer behavior. Now, today there is no technology currently available. I am 100% 100% sure, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the work tech area and the deep tech and the HR tech area. They are looking at this. That not so much of platform is available, which can actually engage you in a very different manner. It is first point of contact is that what organization wants to communicate to you. So I think once this basic premise changes, and I am pretty sure about that, this is the time is not very far away when this will happen, because now start looking at from a consumerization angle, the things will change. Currently, we're not looking at the HRMS and HR tech from a consumerization angle. We are looking from efficiency and productivity point of view. So when the efficiency and productivity is there, your attempt is very different. Is what I would say. So there is a huge amount of custom. I'm just giving an example. Let me give you an example today. The whole learning concept in the world has changed. Today, what you can learn on YouTube or there are various things which are there, Brute or etc. There are various free content which is available, which in a 20 minutes time give you fair sense of what the topic is all about. In the traditional time, you would actually organize 6 hours of a classroom or internet learning to disseminate that information. Now, can you develop an HR tech or a work tech which actually customizes learning at how you want to learn, not how organizations wants you to learn? Essentially, what you want from anyone is that you are knowledgeable and equipped to do things. The knowledge can come from anywhere. From that aspect, I think there is a lot of intelligence has to go in the system that I think we are just pretty much surfacing the scratch at this point in time.
Yes. Absolutely. So moving on to Seema. Seema, we want to get your views for, an organization and your work culture like yours, rather. An HRMS solution, what kind of HRMS solutions would be most beneficial to your sort of work culture?
So as you all know, I am working in a startup bank. We are just 3 years old. I have evolved from a time when we were doing manually everything, right from making the salaries to sending the money to the accounts of the people. And today we have evolved, and the HRMS is fairly in place. I will not say fully in place, but fairly in place where lot of works, as Ashish and Ashutosh have been saying, and Sayeed has been saying, attendance was a big challenge for me because we were scattered all over the place, right from Andaman to Lakshadweep to Trivandrum to Leh, everywhere. So my biggest challenge was how to know whether people are attending the office or not.
Yeah.
So initially it was all manual people. Then HRMS enabled us to have the attendance in place. Then, as you know, we have a hub and spoke model. Each branch is connected to 400 to 450 post offices around in their district. So it's like 155 post offices need to be visited by these 650 people. So travel was such a big challenge for them, and submitting the travel bills was a big challenge. HRMS helped me, have that travel bills online and paperless. Lot of money initially was going in the postage where the people were sending their bills and then we were paying them. It was a big challenge. Now what is happening is like they scan their bills and they send it to us and we pay them online. So traveling was, every day it was more than 700, 800 bills were being paid. So HRMS helped me like that. And also, as Ashish was saying and Ashutosh, learning also is a big challenge, and we are evolving. We want HRMS to deliver me a platform where I can disseminate my products and processes to the people because they are evolving every day.
Yeah.
So and my target audience is not just my officers. I have people across the country. So we have a learning management system which we need to integrate with our HRMS platform. It is in 13 languages, like learning management system.
Yeah.
We have now 13 languages, local languages, where I need to send the training material or in a very simple manner so that it is understandable to the people. So HRMS is helping me in a lot of things. Payroll was every day, as you know, the banking bipartite happened and the entire pay structure changed. If it was to be done manually, it would have been really challenging for me to do it accurately. But system enables me. Yes, it is still not as much in place as I want it to be, but yes, we are evolving.
Well, you know what, as an employee, I feel, because, as an employee, you want to learn, you want to better yourself, and you want to have that as your private sort of interaction. Not all the time. Yes, you do want a mentor, you do want somebody to go to, somebody to. So I think that portion, for me as an employee, if that gets sorted in your HRMS sort of platform, that would be of great benefit. That's how I would feel as an employee. Moving on.
I just want to add one more point, because I'm in a public sector space.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of regulations and compliances which need to be done, which are government, which are from the RBI, from government, from different ministries. So HRMS is also helping me, regulate and prevent the prospective frauds.
Yeah.
So this is also one very big aspect which I expect my HRMS to give me that.
Understood. Moving on, actually, I wanted to ask Sayeed, now that offices are opening and people will start going back, and some offices have started, you go a few days a week and things like that. So once we get back to a fully sort of office space work scenario, what are the changes, if at all there will be any, and how will things get better? Because there'll be maybe a better sort of coming together of tech and people managing everything.
Yeah, so I think the new normal is new. It's not going to be the same as 2 years back kind of a thing. And one of the realities today is that work will be hybrid. Okay, it's not that COVID will go away and then it will be as if we will wake up back into how we used to work in 2019 and continue from that point onwards. So that being the case, the movement forward will be where culture, workspaces, and tech can support both modes of work as such. Of course, there will be a different mix. For many organizations, it could be 90% work from office and then probably 10% work from home. For some, it might be the other way around. And even from employee to employee, it might vary. Not just be about the industry that, some set of employees might prefer only to work from home, some may prefer. And the organizations need to wake up to this reality and they need to support this. And the tools also need to support this. So I think that's the way forward. And so to a large extent, you will not be able to go physical at any point of time. You will need to continue to be mediating all of these things via the various HRMS platforms or tech platforms, work tech platforms that you need to do. And this adds an additional kink, because if you're completely virtual, you can manage it in a certain way. But when parts of it is virtual, or 3 days a day, 3 days a week, somebody will be in office and 2 days they will not be in office. How you will manage all of these things? A lot of tech is required to make this happen.
I'm going to come to you, Ashutosh, and let's talk a little bit now about some of the challenges. We've spoken about how it should be, what are we looking at, and of course, different organizations, different industries, different requirements. But I want to talk about some of the challenges now. So I'll go to each one of you. Let's start with you.
I think challenges is what we've covered a little bit in terms of the customization, getting everything down to one platform, which I agree, when Mr. Ashish said that it's probably what is in store for the future, and I hope that becomes a reality, because having everything under one umbrella just becomes so much easier to sort out, right? I mean, if I was to look at it from an L&D perspective, in fact, our L&D interventions are not aligned with our HRMS. We have a standalone LMS called the Edelman Learning Institute, which internally we all call it like the Netflix for learning, right? It's got plenty of learning materials, white papers, scholarly articles, YouTube links, and of course through all of the other training interventions that we do internally. Yes, we actively use HRMS from a payroll, from a compliance, from an attendance and leave management perspective, but we'd like to develop that and take it to a next stage where some of these other elements of employee engagement can also be brought in, into that. So I would say, yes, it is a challenge to have everything under one roof, but perhaps as technology develops and as platforms become more and more robust, I think it's a challenge that may not be a challenge in the short term future.
So Seema, we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. So the biggest challenge which I also feel is that my HRMS should be able to help me monitor the KPIs also. So if I am able to handle that and I'm able to monitor the KPIs through my HRMS, which as of now I have to, go to the individual's KPIs and then monitor. But yes, we have, evolved our performance management system aligned with my HRMS, which helps me do that.
Yeah.
And also if I can have I can identify my right person for the right job through my HRMS, because then it helps me in succession planning as well. So yes, all these things are in mind and we are working on that.
Ashish, I'll come to you now.
Sure. So think of this way. So look at the way the organizations were managed so far. The organizations were managed, and I worked in regulated entity for 10 years. We used to be financial services professional for more than a decade. So, and worked in various industries for that early stage to very late stage kind of companies. So look at all organizations so far have been designed to track the number of hours and what's the output. That's the way the whole organization design was there in a very oversimplified manner, which means are you logging at 9 o'clock, 9:30? If you work from 9:30 or 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock, you're productive at the end of the day, whether you had 4 hours of coffee break or you didn't have, nobody cared about it.
Yeah.
So that's the way the whole organization design was there. That's traditionally it has been there. Now, what has changed? I'll tell you, there is a behavioral shift, and I go back to the consumer psyche always. There is a behavioral shift is that human beings were designed to wear formal clothes at 8:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Today, you half of the people will feel very lazy to even get out of the bed at 8:30 and wear a formal clothes. So the making them wear a formal clothing and getting them to office itself is a behavioral shift which is happening, and people are struggling with it. No one is talking about it, but many people struggle with it. Today, if you look at lot of countries in the world has moved around that it's a 4-day working or a 4.5-day working. But if you look at particularly what's your productive hours and what's the productivity, that's what matters to at the end of the day. The right from a shareholder to the employee to the customer to the vendor, everything is revolving around the productivity matrix. Unless until we go back to the productivity matrix and design everything around it, nothing is going to change. Yeah. Humans have a short memory. If the COVID will go away eventually, or we will learn to live with it, eventually things will go back to the way it was. All these conversations will become a passe. Yeah. But today, I think the discussion, or at least there is a very deep thinking happening, is that design the organization around the productivity and the output, rather than the time piece effort. Wherever is possible, and in a factory setup, we have a large factory, and we can see that when you design the processes around your productivity and output, rest becomes a byproduct. I think that's the fundamental shift organizations need to change, and I think people like us only will have to take the lead in our respective work spheres and things like that. But that's my take on that. I mean, all HRMS will only solve problems what we want. Yeah. Technology doesn't give a solution by itself.
Yeah. So before I move on to Sayeed for his set of challenges, there's something very interesting that you just mentioned, and it's something that I'm very interested in as researching it. You mentioned the 4-day work week. I'm going to digress just a little bit and just get your views, Ashish, on this. So what is your view? This is on the 4-day work week.
I have no fixation with a 4-day or a 5-day or a 7-day. Essentially, what's the output you want from a person?
Yeah.
Okay. Human beings are not robots, so that you can endlessly churn number of hours or be productive, because the creation of the wealth in the industry and the upliftment of the economic condition in the whole world has changed the thinking, rather than from this. All the work processes are currently designed by in 1960, when the industrial revolution age, which was just right after the World War II, when the world was in the crisis. So today is a different world. So it's not about number of days. It's about how productive can you make number of hours in a particular day and how much is the optimum. So the moment organizational design moves to that direction, everything else will fall in.
Yeah.
And people, you and nobody, I mean, including me or anyone, nobody would feel a pinch of working in that sense. Today, if you put a guard, you don't like it.
Yeah.
You have enough snooping. Your app is tracking, your phone is tracking, everything is being tracked in the world. So the moment you move in that direction, a lot of things will fall into place. And I was reading through a lot of places. And look at the UAE today. UAE has said Monday to Thursday, their 4 days working, Friday is half day, and then. And I was chatting with some very senior folks. They say we are as productive as we were earlier. So it's a mindset. I mean, how much do you want from people?
Yeah. No, because this is a very interesting debate that's going on, and it's interesting to get people's point of view. People have different points of view on this, and no, but well said. It's all about productivity and, of course, well-being and how the employee feels that he can contribute maximum and where. So moving on to Sayeed, we'll come back to what we were talking about. In terms of challenges, what are the few things that you'd like to point out?
Yeah, I think as part of the discussion that we have been having in terms of tools and what tools need to deliver, and being a HRMS or a HR tech company ourselves, we know it's a never-ending story about needs versus what expectations we meet. And I can say very few organizations, HR tech companies in the global sphere can span the entire, because HRMS is a very large thing, like from well-being to CSR to L&D to this thing. You could just count a handful of companies that provide solution, and they are beyond the reach of most companies as such. Okay, you need to be a unicorn to be able to afford these kind of techs, which will provide you a single platform where everything can get done. So the more pragmatic way is to go via the integrations route. And now today, it has been proven that even at large companies like Workday heavily leverages ADP for payroll processing in many places as such. Workday itself doesn't provide those things. And we ourselves integrate with Workday and SuccessFactors and various for payroll in India. So that being the case, the pragmatic approach would be to find the best of breed tools which also play well on the cloud and can seamlessly integrate to give a unified experience. Because in many cases, there need not be a lot of interchange of data between these systems. Like L&D, while is important, the amount of data that needs to flow is not there. So that's one challenge in terms of mindset, again, that I need a comprehensive solution. You don't need. You have enough solutions, best of breed solutions, and there are very well integrated solutions out there as such. So that is one thing. The second aspect which we also feel is that when we talk about HR tech and its use in organizations, the context within the organization varies. So there are very mature organizations. So as per the PCMM, if you see, there are organizations at various levels of maturity. And the solutions that they need are not the same. Everybody can't be served with the same set of solutions. Like if you're a highly mature organization, you have a very sophisticated HR practices and systems in place, and the workforce and the leadership, then you will have a different kind of a need for a solution as such. But what we see having served and highly focused on SMEs is that people don't even have rudimentary and essential systems in place, which can if you can transform from no system or a spreadsheet-based system to a cloud-based system, you can overnight change a lot of improvement in your overall processes. The employee experience can 5x, 10x improve overall, and this is something that is a challenge even today for a lot of SMEs and medium industries as such. And that is something that people need to understand where they are, what is their context, and what is suitable for them. Because if you go with what is probably going to work for a very sophisticated organization, you may not be at that kind of a capability maturity level where it will suit you as such.
Right.
So this is the other thing that needs to be looked into.
So you know what, we've had some very good points come in from y'all, and I'm sure that there are lots of questions that our viewers have for you all. So I would like to say, before I go to each of you for your closing remarks, that viewers do sort of write into us, and we will try and get you the answers, all your answers from our panel, and they'll be very happy to answer every question of yours. And now I would like to ask for some closing remarks. Let's move to you, Ashutosh. It was great, and we've, all of you, great points. And so, yeah.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me as part of this discussion. Of course, it's an ongoing topic, and I think some very, very great points and insights have been shared even by my fellow panelists on call today, and definitely worth reflecting on as we come back to some sense of normalcy. And I think going back to what Mr. Sayeed was saying, that I think in 2020 we were talking about the new normal. 2021 we were talking about the next normal. And now in 2022, people are talking about the new abnormal. So I think there's a lot to keep track of and a lot to do. Just happy to be a part of it, and really looking forward to where the landscape emerges and changes as we go ahead.
Right. Seema?
Thank you so much, and I am happy to learn so many things from Ashish and Sayeed ji and Ashutosh, because I am an evolving organization unlike yours. So got a lot of great ideas I've got from you guys, and I hope you will help me out if I reach you for some kind of help in evolving my HRMS platform. Thank you.
Ashish?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me here. So I would only summarize this as that I think the need has never been felt to do such a deep HR tech work in world. And this whole last 2 years has forced to people to think deep HR tech. And that's the new journey of the HR transformation, which we will see next decade time. It won't happen just like that, because it's as Sayeed was saying, why did SAP or Oracle sort the end-to-end supply chain issue of everything? I call it the supply chain of human cycle. So nobody has put a full deep tech effort to develop or solve this supply chain side of the entire organization of human resources. I think timing is right. We will see a lot of things coming out of that, and it was absolute delight and pleasure to have you, to speak to all of you. And I've learned so much from Ashutosh, Seemaji, everyone else.
Yeah, I think we also learned a lot, and I think this is an ongoing discussion. We must do this again, and we must all get together once more. So before I hand it back to my colleague, Sayeed, I would like to get your closing remarks on this.
Thanks. So I think it was a very engaging and informative session for me. Because we deal with lots and lots of CHROs and HR teams on a daily basis. So we get to learn new ideas and new approaches that we can be thinking for. And it also is a lot of pressure on us to see how we can serve our customers better. But what I would say is that already we have enough tech to a large extent. The utilization of the tech is not, to the extent that we have fully saturated our usage, and now we are, need more tech. Okay, so a lot of existing systems, if they are well utilized within the organizations, and the HR teams align their mindsets to the new age, new tools, there is a huge scope for immediate improvements without going in for the next thing, because we generally tend to externalize our issues. Okay, but while we can see what is available within our existing locus of control and what can be effectively utilized, that can give a huge leg up in terms of productivity, employee experience, and all the things that can be done today. We don't have to wait for the future.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to thank Sayeed, because we are using greytHR.
Thanks for the mention. Yeah, I didn't want to bring it up, so because I didn't want to, talk about greytHR, but thanks for that. And we are proud of having India Banks as a customer.
Well, thank you all so much. And this is very exciting. And we're obviously going to watch for innovations in this area. And we're going to get together again. And I will send you all the questions that we get in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Taking cue from Mr. Anjum there, not talking about greytHR. This panel was powered by greytHR. We extend our gratitude to them. Thank you so much, Jyotsna, for that panel discussion. We will